Mariners supporters, blows his whistle. George Moncur steps up and scores! Bottom corner of the net, the goalkeeper was very close, and it's George. He lets in a low cross, and a swing turn in, and Leyton Orient are back on level terms. He'll come to James, he shoots! Oh, and a goal from Tom James! That was a volley, and that was right. It's a low cross, it's an inviting cross, and it's been turned in by Theo Archibald, and he celebrates in front of the travelling faithful.
Good afternoon and welcome to Orient Live here in E10. It's another massive fixture in League 2 as the O's are facing Mark Hughes' Bradford City, and I'm delighted to be joined by journalist Brendan Pitcher and Orient legend Jabba Ibrahim. And boys, it is a big one here in E10, and Bradford are a tough side, and I'm sure it's going to be a tough game today.
Yeah, it's another big game, but we're used to big games, and we're used to these teams coming to Brisbane Road, and we know what to expect now. So you want to push on from a fortnight ago, and it'll be interesting to see how the team react from a bit of rest.
And yeah, that's the big one. There's a few weird things I have to say. We haven't played for 14 days now. It's a 12:30 kickoff. The players' body clocks might be a little bit unadjusted at the moment. Is Theo?
Mate.
And Cleo. It's a weird one for the players today.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, coming off the back of a bit of a break, obviously not being in the FA Cup, and then it's thrown us a bit now having this early kickoff. So as soon as they touch the grass, though, they'll find the rhythm and get into it, but definitely throw you off a little bit. And
we've said Bradford is a tough one. I think they've only lost once on the road, but our last game, Stockport, everyone was talking about Stockport's form and how tough the game was, and we brushed them aside. You've always got confidence in this group, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. Look, we'll go into Bradford later, but they're a very good away side. They've got the third best away record in the league, but ultimately, you listen to every interview between whether it's Richie, any of the players, they always talk about it being on us. We're the side who are clear at the top of the league. We're clear of fourth place. We've got an unbelievable record both home and away, and it's teams having to adapt to us. It's a case of if we play our game, we know we're better than anyone in this division. It's just all on us to turn up and perform.
And you talk about being clear of fourth. Barrow lost 5-0 last night to Stevenage, which, okay, second place Stevenage picking up some points and some goal difference, but that means if we were to win today, could be 14 points clear of fourth in the automatic spots. It's crazy. I haven't even got my Christmas decorations up yet.
Honestly, it's remarkable. I mean, especially going into a crucial part of the season in the Christmas period, to go in there with that sort of lead against like the chasing pack in fourth. I mean, it's unbelievable, and they'll be biting their hands off for that. So, I mean, that's the carrot on this game. It's a big game. Like Brendan was saying, every game's big now. Teams are going to come here to try and lay the marker and try and derail us. But if we turn up, we've got special players on the side, and we can be very confident that as long as we perform, we can get the victory.
Well, it's going to be an exciting one, that's for sure. And if you're watching along live on the YouTube at home and about to put your shoes on to come down to the ground, don't. It's a sellout, but you can join us and watch us here on Orient Live, and you can pick up your streaming pass for that one. That's for UK and international fans. So yeah, make sure you get over and purchase your match pass now. But first, the O's are unchanged from that win over Stockport, so let's remind ourselves of how we lined up from our last game 14 days ago. In goal for the O's, of course, is number 22, Lawrence Vigouroux. Number 2, Tom James. Number 5, Dan Happy. Number 7, Paul Smith. Number 11, Theo Archibald. Number 12, Jordan Brown. Number 14, George Moncur. 15, Idris El Mazouni. The captain, number 18, Darren Pratley. Number 19, Omar Beckles. Leading the line is 23, Charlie Kelman. And on the bench for the O's is Sam Sargent, Shadrach Oji, Craig Clay, Ruel Satiriou, Jaden Wareham, Aaron Drynan and Jaden Sweeney. Now, it was a fantastic 3 points we picked up on the road at Stockport. It feels like it was ages ago, but for the players, they'll still be riding high on that confidence as well.
Yeah, definitely. The break didn't come at quite an ideal time, maybe, because you would have liked to have built on that momentum, but equally it was a chance to reset, and I know there was a few illnesses in the camp, particularly with Richie Wellens' coaching staff, so that gave him a chance to recover, and now it's all about responding and building on that result, and I think it's an unchanged side today, and I think that shows respect to this side, because you'd be hard-pressed to fault anyone that played in that Stockport game, because it was an unbelievable performance.
And if we cast our minds back to Stockport, the man getting all the loving was Jordan Brown. He was immense against Harrogate. Rob Hunt's obviously set up with a knock, but Jordan will be hoping to put in another solid performance today.
I mean, he's been ever so reliable. Every time he's been asked upon to come into the side, he's done a great shift. He's proven how good of a player he really is. In any position he's been asked to play, he's done it so well. So I'm glad that he's getting an opportunity now to get a run in the side. Hopefully he can continue his great form.
And he's obviously playing in that back line. We looked good against Stockport. They were a tricky side. we've kept a lot of clean sheets this year as well. They're going to need to be on top of their game to keep Bradford quiet as well, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Bradford on paper have one of the best sides in this division, one of the biggest budgets. They're a very strong outfit, and it's all about kind of Omar Beckles marshalling that back line. I think Jordan Brown has come in, he's done a job at right back, and you've got Tom James playing on an unfamiliar side, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Look, we had a ropey first 15-20 minutes against Stockport, but after that we were so solid, so defensively resolute, and I think that's the case with this side. It doesn't matter with the personnel, it's just so well coached and so well led by someone like Omar Beckles that the personnel really doesn't make much difference.
And when you talk about how well they're coached, obviously a massive piece of news that we haven't touched on yet is Richie Wellens signing his new deal in the last couple of weeks. So that's 3 years for him as well. I think it really shows you kind of his intentions here and what he wants to achieve.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I mean, when he came in after the previous manager left, and you know the position we were in, what he's done in the short space of time, the turnaround, been nothing but fantastic, and he deserves all the plaudits he's got. But like he alluded to before, I think after the Wimbledon game, we were saying it's a journey. You know, he's building something, and it just shows the commitment from the club and him to keep this journey going and hopefully build something special.
Well, we do have Richie Wellens, and we've got him for another 3 years at least. And of course, we caught up with him to get his thoughts after signing his new deal.
Well, Gaffer, we'll start with the news that you've signed a new contract at the club. First of all, what are your feelings on that, and why now?
Really pleased. It's something that the club put to me probably about 6 or 7 weeks ago, and you know, as I've said, I'm happy at the club. I think it's a club that's going in the right direction, and it's a pleasure to work for the owners and the board, and then it's obviously a pleasure to work with the staff and the players here. So for me, it was an easy decision. We just want to kick on now, and now that it's done and it's sorted, you know, try and achieve what is the ultimate aim.
So there's a deal till 2025, and in football we don't like getting ahead of ourselves and talking about things that haven't happened, but in terms of Leyton Orient as a club and the potential it has, what do you think you can achieve here?
I think it's really a lazy answer if I just said try and get into the Championship. I think it's really difficult, but I don't think it's difficult to get into the top 10 of League One. I think this is a club capable of that. I actually looked something the other day of the average attendances in the clubs of clubs in League One, you know, and if we average our attendance this season to the clubs in League One, we'd be in the top 12, 13. So if we went into League One and we had more away supporters, then our attendance, you know, it's very viable that we can be a really successful League One club. He's been there before with Russell Slade in the playoffs. So I think the answer to your question would be, let's try and get in around the top 10 of League One clubs. And once you get in there, you never know, you might get into the playoffs one year and strike lucky and get in. It's a tough league, you know, the Ipswiches, Sunderlands who have just gone up, the Boltons, it's some really big clubs. So I think if you're consistently in and around the top 10 of League One, it gives you a chance to then get promoted to the Championship.
And then just finally then, obviously, everyone can see you're now on board with the club for that little bit longer. So what would your message be to our supporters ahead of the rest of the season?
Just continue to support myself and the staff and the players the way that you have been, but know that I've felt the warmth from day one, and you know, just continue supporting the players, continue to come in your numbers, especially away from home and at home, and you know, keep it feels good. The club is on the up, and it feels like we're going to achieve something successful this year. So just continue what you're doing.
Well, it is of course just the start of the Richie Wellens era, and it's going fairly well so far. And we've touched on it, but the job he's doing is incredible. The way he's got them playing. This is the same group of players that were. Some people were saying they could be in a relegation fight last year. He's done an incredible job.
Yeah, he's galvanised not only just a team, but I think the whole club, the fan base, I think, has really bought into what he's about so quickly. I think that's a key thing, because remember when he came in, it was a case of that really long winless run. It was such a tough period for the club. But he came in, he brought that positivity, and he got people believing again. Look, there's always a case where we had good players. We knew people like Tom James, Paul Smith, Theo Archibald, Aaron Drine and Omar Beckles. They're all very, very good League Two players. But it's a case of they need that belief and they need that structure to work upon. And Richie Wellens has certainly given them that and then some.
And then some is the way he's got them playing as well. And we've been near perfect all season, and just our style of play, our pressing, everything is so impressive.
Yeah, I think if we're looking at the Stockport game, and it came kind of was the theme of our whole season in terms of we got ahead, and then once we go ahead, we're so ruthless. We don't concede many chances, we don't concede many goals. I think we're going to see clips in a minute of why this is, because I think it's a case of we've been ahead for over 13 hours of league football this season, and we've only conceded the 6 goals and we've only dropped 2 points. That was from the draw against Doncaster, and we're seeing here why this is. It's a case of we don't just sit deep, we don't just sit 10 behind the ball and try and defend the lead. We press from the front, we cause mistakes, we harry the opposition, and it also kind of feeds into the fact that we haven't won a game so far by more than 2 goals. I think it's a case of we take what we get, we don't go too gung-ho and try and go for 3 or 4. We just do what we have to do, and we do it very, very well, and I think that's a case of what Richie Wellens and Paul Terry have implemented here, in terms of when you get to the 83rd minute and you're a team like Stockport and you're chasing a game, the last thing you want is Aaron Dryan or Charlie Kelman running full pelt at you. It causes you to make mistakes and it forces you backwards, and that's why we've been so good at defending leads this season.
And picking out Charlie Kelman and Aaron Dryan, we've seen Charlie running his socks off in the 83rd minute just then. We're in the 89th minute now. They're still chasing, they're still harrying, and there's a real battle between Dryan and Kelman, but they both work so hard, don't they?
Yeah, it's a real toss-up at the minute, but I think both of them bring different qualities, but are both very good players. And we saw at the back end of that Stockport game that for the first time, really, Richie had chosen to play them together by moving to a 3-5-2, and it worked brilliantly. You sacrificed something there, because I know Paul Smith and George Moncur came off, but it shows the faith that Richie has in those two, and they're the ones, like you're seeing from these clips, that are leading it from the front, working ever so hard and forcing the opposition back when we're in the lead.
Well, we were talking about, just before we came on air, Jabbo, about how much some players run, how much some strikers run. You said you were always highest in the stats, which is, undoubted always. But we're lucky to have strikers that are willing to run so much and give so much for the team. And we look at that front line, and it allows the rest of the team to play.
100%, especially in League Two, I find that, if you chase and harry the opposition, especially obviously the defenders, they're prone to kind of rush their pass, give the ball away, and encourage when you see your attacking players chasing, harrying. As a defender, you think, go on, good, and it gives you encouragement. And I think often defence, when the strikers showing that, sometimes they might not score the goals you want them to score, but they do such a great job for the team that goes unnoticed sometimes.
And we're giving a lot of love to Kelman and Drynham, but you've got Theo Archibald and Paul Smith, who's been operating out wide, and they work so hard, and they're also blessed with unbelievable technical ability as well. It all comes together so well, and we're talking about how Bradford are in good form, but they'll be looking at our front 4, our front 3, and they'll be petrified.
100%. I mean, they're not, they've seen what's going on. They've been looking in the papers, looking at the results. They know Orient are a real team with some special players. But not only have they got good players that can technically play and do the work, they're very aggressive and they work hard. And I think that's a credit to the manager, the way he wants his teams to play, how he used to play when he was a player, because he could play well, but he had a bite in him, and you can see that in the players. So they're going to know there's going to be good quality, but also going to know they're going to be in for a game, because these guys ain't going to let them come off it at all.
Well, as we've said, it is Charlie Kelman who is leading the line, and he'll be running his socks off again today, I'm sure, and we caught up with him in the week to get his thoughts ahead of the game.
Charlie, thanks for joining us. It's been a couple of weeks since you've been out there, but I imagine everyone's looking forward to the game Saturday.
Yeah, it's been a nice break, some good team bonding throughout, but yeah, training's been very good, very hard, and yeah, we're looking forward to the game tomorrow.
It's been a bit strange, obviously, that Stockport game without the manager there, but a fantastic win, and I'm sure the lads are still reeling off that one.
Yeah, the gaffer was there, because at half time he come in and give a few people a piece of his mind, but no, it was a good win, important win. I think we deserved the win in the end. First 20 was a bit slow, but the atmosphere around here, the character that we show, goes a long way, so hopefully we can continue that tomorrow.
Unlucky not to get a goal in that one as well. You've dug that one out, and keeper's made a great save, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think that's been my luck the past few weeks. Obviously I had the one disallowed, I've hit the bar a couple of times and had a few shots saved, so I'm due a goal, and hopefully that can come tomorrow. See
Bradford tomorrow. They're one of their fancy teams at the beginning of the season, and made a good start under Mark Hughes. So what can we make of tomorrow's game?
It'll be a very good footballing game. I think they've sold their end out, so they'll bring fans in numbers. They'll be difficult, very hard to break down, but we're not worried about anyone else but ourselves. I think we've shown that over the course of the season that we're the only people that matter when we go to play. So tomorrow will be a hard game, but we'll be prepared, strong and ready to go.
With the break, it's given everyone a bit of a chance to rest, I guess, in the first instance, but also probably look back on what's been a really good season so far.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for us is always looking forward. I'm never looking back, but I think the break gives us time to reflect on what we've done so far, and to look back, I think we've made an excellent start. We couldn't have asked for more, to be fair. So we just got to continue that tomorrow. I think, like, the fans, the club, everyone going in the right direction, from the chairman all the way down. So our biggest thing is keeping that form going, keeping the mentality, not slacking off, not getting comfortable. That's the biggest thing, and keep going and moving on to the next game.
Well, Charlie Kelman will be hoping to get in and amongst the goals again today, and hopefully the fireman will be doing his job as well. You're looking good, lad. But now let's take a look at how the visiting side are lining up. He doesn't like Jabbo. Let's take a look and see how the visiting side are lining up today. So, in goal for Bradford, we have number 1, Harry Lewis. We have number 2, Brad Halliday. Number 5, Matty Platt. Number 6, and the captain, Richie Smallwood. Number 9, the league's top goal scorer is Andy Cook. Number 11, Alex Gilead. Number 12, Scott Banks. Number 14, Matty Folds. Number 15, Timmy Odesina. Number 20, Harry Chapman. And number 32, Tyreek Wright. And on the bench for Bradford is number 13, Colin Doyle. Number 4, Jan Songo. Number 7, Leon Goal. Number 10, Jamie Walker. 16, Ryan East. Number 19, Vadine Oliver. And number 30, Ab Isa. So that is how Bradford City are lining up this afternoon. And we've touched on it briefly, but there's some threats in there, and they're a good side, Bradford.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're if you look at it on paper, they're the biggest side in the division in terms of just the backing, the size of the stadium. They've got an ex-Premier League manager in Mark Hughes, and they've got a number of players in there that are just very, very good for the level. I think, if anything, they probably underperformed this season. They're just outside the playoffs. They would have been expecting to be higher. They're a bit of a sleeping giant at this level that hasn't really got going for some time since their relegation, but they're very, very good away. They've got the 3rd best away record in the division. They're only just behind us. They've only conceded 8 goals away from home. So I think it's going to be a real test for Orient today, and one that they're going to have to come through.
And it's normally a case of our attackers going out and doing their thing, but it's going to be a case of trying to work out Bradford and making sure we don't let them get into the game, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've got genuine threat. They've got someone who's just like on fire in terms of goals and everything. And we sort of have to kind of nullify their threat and stop getting those crosses into the box, because the striker in Andy Cook, he loves anything in and around the box. He's a 6-yard merchant, knows where the position to be and to score those goals. We need to nullify those threats out wide.
And Andy Cook is the league's leading goal scorer. He's a handful. He's one that Dan Happy and Omar Beckles are going to be keeping an eye over the shoulder for.
Yeah, he's your typical big target man at this level. He scores goals. He's the 2nd top scorer in the division, and he's been around the level. He's been promoted a number of times. He holds the ball up really well, but ultimately he's just a real handful. But if you're talking about strikers that kind of suit Omar Beckles and Dan Happy, I think Andy Cook, a big target man, is one of those. I don't think they're going to be really troubled by a big physical presence. I think they sometimes maybe will struggle with a bit of pace, but Andy Cook is more the big physical type.
I mean, you can see like, anything in around the box, he's there. He pulls into good positions. He never tries to be marked from behind. He stands between the defenders, and anything in and around the 6-yard area, he's there. He's alert, and we've got to be sharp to any crosses, because movement is good within the box, and he seems to have a good knack to be in the right place at the right time at the moment.
And he's not the only man in the team who can cause danger. You've singled out Alex Gilead as well as a man who can maybe cause the O's some trouble.
Yeah, Alex Gilead's a very, very good player. He's sort of, when I knew him, he was a winger, a very dangerous winger. I've seen him on a couple of occasions end people's careers. But I mean, now he's playing in a different role, like just in front of the defence. But he can play, he can spray the ball. He's got good range of passing. So we can nullify him as well to stop that supply line out wide. We'll reduce the threat inside the box.
What kind of Bradford side are you expecting to turn up today? They're also going to be looking at us as a bit of a scalp, as a bit of a marker of where they want to be. Do you think they'll really bring the game to us today? Yeah,
it's a big game for them. I think you talk about we're under pressure a little bit because we're the team to be shot at, but I think if anything, it's probably more on Bradford. I think Richie spoke about it in his pretty much interview about the fact that if they want to be where they want to be, which is up near us, they can't afford many more defeats. They've got to come and take the game to us. I think maybe we can settle for a draw, but I don't think they can. I think they're going to have to press high, get in our faces and be aggressive and take the game to us. And if anything, that's the type of game that suits us.
Oh, they certainly are. And we've got So some young Orient fans reading out the team news. So let's remind you at home of the team news as well. So saying what he said, in goal for the O's is number 22, Lawrence Vigouroux. In it, right back is number 2, Tom James. Number 5, Dan Happy. Out wide is number 7, Paul Smith, and 11, Theo Archibald. Occupying the midfield is George Moncur, Idris El Mazouni, and Darren Pratley. Number 12, Jordan Brown, is also in that back 4. And Omar Beckles partners Dan Happy at the back with number 23, Charlie Kelman, leading the line. And on the bench for the O's is Sam Sargent, Shadrach Oji, Craig Clay, Ruel Sotiriou, Jaden Wareham, Aaron Drynan, and Jaden Sweeney. So we've spoken a lot about them. We haven't spoken too much about the midfield and the work that they do. They were incredible against Stockport. It's why none of them have lost their space. But when you've got that midfield three of Moncur, Pratley and Idris, they work so well together.
Yeah, they're a well-oiled machine now. For a large period of the season, they've been playing together. Arguably the favourable partnership in there. They all know what each other's doing. They know if one goes forward, they know where to fill in, when to tackle, when to get forward. And they deserve all the plaudits they're getting at the moment.
And they obviously do all the work for Paul Smith and Theo Archibald. We touched on them briefly, but they're players that you never know what you're going to get from them. It could be a bicycle kick, it could be a 40-yard screamer. They're just treating us so far this season.
Yeah, they've both been excellent, and they're who we kind of funnel our play out to. I think we spoke earlier about whether it's Charlie Kelman or Aaron Drynan in that number 9 position. They do a lot of the hard yards, which allows people like Paul Smith and Theo Archibald to get into the game and do what they do best, which is create moments of magic. And in terms of wingers in this league, I don't think there's much better.
Well, there isn't, and they're going to be the ones that Bradford are looking to keep quiet as well, though. That's the issue. Do you feel as though where we've become this scout, where we've become this kind of target to have a shot of, they'll have done their scouting on especially Paul Smith and Theo Archibald, and they'll probably be marked out of the game, you'd expect.
Yeah, I mean, knowing the way Bradford have lined up and the way their away form this season, been very pragmatic. They've been very good away from home, so I'm sure there's a way they do it, and it's by nullifying the opposition threat. So I'm sure in the VTs during the week they would have highlighted Paul Smith and Theo Archibald as major threats, and I think they'll be under good scrutiny today in the game.
And we obviously had a month on the road, some good results, one not so good result, but a strong month on the whole. How excited are you to be back in front of a home crowd and hopefully picking up some more points? Yeah,
a packed home crowd, it's going to make a difference today. I think you've had, like you said, a month of away fixtures. We've done well in that time. We've picked up a good amount of points, but ultimately what you want to be when you're playing in this kind of form, you want to play in front of your home fans. You want to play in front of a packed crowd in these kind of big games, and the players will relish in that.
And it is a big game. The players will know that. When they come out in their interviews, they say that they're not looking at the table or the points. They'll know in their minds that if they can build this buffer now to 14 points, maybe extend that next Saturday as well. This is a fantastic opportunity.
100%. I mean, and especially, you know what's going on. You don't want to often say out to the press too much and say, we know where we are. You kind of want to keep it at the back of your mind. But every game you go in there, you want to get that result. You want to keep that distance, and especially around the Christmas period, it's so important for a team, especially if you're trying to get that promotion. The Christmas period, because there's so many games back to back, to keep getting those wins, it just gives you those points quickly to keep making that distance from the playoff chasers.
Are you at all concerned we might have lost a little bit of momentum? I think when we beat Stockport in the manner that we did, it would have been great to have played the Tuesday after. We've had a long break. I suppose there's swings and roundabouts to it.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, we know what happened last season when we had a long break without a game. I think this team is different. I think this management setup is different, and we'll see ultimately when they get out there the first 10-15 minutes, we'll be able to see what kind of impact the break has had. I think it might have been nice to really have a bit of a rest to kind of reflect and just get on the training pitch. But ultimately, like you say, you probably would want to go back out there after the Stockport result. So I'll be really interested to see how we start this game and whether the rest has had a positive or a negative impact.
Yeah, I do think the rest will do us some good, if I'm honest, because when you do a lot of travelling, obviously physically you're tired, but mentally you're tired as well. And having that sort of the weekend off to just not kind of, you can take your mind off football a little bit, spend a bit more time with the family, to then go back really hungry to finish, especially this crucial period of Christmas, to finish it strongly and have that power to go and do well.
Well, it is an exciting period coming up as well, of course, when we start with next Saturday, and it's another 12:30 kick-off, and the O's are travelling away to Crewe. and so that one is available for UK and international fans to stream with us here on Orient Live. So make sure you head over to the website and pick up your match pass. And of course, if you're watching along on YouTube, make sure you do the same and pick up your pass for today's game to get every minute of the action right here with us on Orient Live. And the excitement's building around the stadium, and there's such a feel-good factor. I think the last time game was sold out. You expect the game in a couple of weeks to be sold out. I think it already is. It's just such a feel-good factor and a real buzz about the place.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time it was this exciting to go and watch Orient. Like, we had that obviously fantastic Justin Edinburgh season, but it almost felt like we were a little bit in terms of that league above the level, and it was expected for us to go and do what we were doing in the National League. This League Two, obviously, we have been a League One club before, but we're still doing very, very well to be just tearing the league apart at the minute, and that's why the crowds are coming in. That's why we're sold out week in, week out, and I'm sure that's why the players are going to love playing here over the next 3 or 4 months to close out the season.
And what way does your heart tell you today's going to be going, Jabbo? I'm starting to feel nervous. What way do you think it's going to be going?
I mean, it's going to be positive. It'll be intense. It'll be a thriller. I think Bradford will sort of like analyse what we're going to do. They're not going to come out gun ho initially. I think it's going to be about what we do. I think it'll be cautious, but I'm going with a bit of a draw and maybe Orient sneak that win.
Yeah, the 3 points would be fantastic, and the boys are getting ready in the tunnel, ready to make their way out onto the pitch. So it is now time to hand over to our match commentary team of Dave Victor and Matt Hiscock.
Good afternoon and welcome to Brisbane Road. It has been far too long. It's over on the back of 2 away day victories.
Yeah, incredible. Like you say, Dave, feels such a long time, and certainly in my lifetime can't remember going a month without a game at Brisbane Road. The odd postponements, of course, around Christmas, January, but at this stage, I say, delighted to be back here. It has been a fortress this season, and let's hope this afternoon the O's can again secure a massive 3 points.
It was a side that came from behind to pick up that huge victory at Stockport County. It's the same starting 11.
Yeah, no surprise really that Richie Wellens has decided to keep the same side that beat Stockport, and what a win that was this afternoon. Different type of test, I feel, with Mark Hughes' side. You look at them, the way they set up, I think they'll be quite difficult to try and break down. They'll try and get men behind the ball when Orient are in possession, and it might be one today that has to go the full duration. But there's enough quality on that Orient side. The likes of Archibald, Smith, Moncur, we talk about them week in, week out. They have got the route to unlock the door.
Both these sides didn't play last week because both were knocked out at the first round of the FA Cup. I know the Bradford City players enjoyed themselves by the sound of it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think the Orient came in for a training session, didn't they? And they had a little bit of a game between themselves, nothing too intense, but just to keep that bit of momentum, I guess, in the legs and the body going. But I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2 that would have felt like a break did them a good job. I think Paul Smith commented in his preview in the game that there was a bit of sickness going around the camp, so hopefully that's now cleared away. But as I say, big game this afternoon, and it'll be a tough test.
Yes, Paul was actually explaining that he wasn't very well at the Stockport game, which is one of the reasons he might have been taken off in that second half.
Yeah, again, and you look at the absentee this afternoon, the clear one, of course, is Rob Hunt. He's not been able to get himself back fit. We wish him a speedy recovery, because it's this period now where the games do come thick and fast. For me, I think there's a lot of talk around Orient and a lot of focus. The manager signing his contract. If we're 11 points clear after the Northampton game of 4th place, we've had an excellent Christmas period, but there's a long way to go in that.
As the Tides come onto the field, it's a big crowd here in E10, a sellout of course, and despite the early kick-off, there is a fantastic support. They've travelled all the way from West Yorkshire to be here this afternoon.
Yeah, full credit to them. I'm not sure we'd be overly impressed if the shoe was on the other foot, having to travel all that way for an early kick-off, but fair play to them. Bradford, we know they've got a very solid fan base and have done for a number of years now, but there's around 1,200 of